Well, Auburn has made the Final Five for an elite 2026 quarterback.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich Montgomery Radio Legend, a little Friday afternoon bonus episode to get us into the weekend. Some news dropping earlier in the week. Landon Duckworth, the very talented quarterback from Jackson, Alabama, put out his top 5 officially. And unsurprisingly, Auburn, it seemed like, really turned up the heat in their pursuit of Landon Duckworth, a few weeks ago. And so he's got his Final 5, Auburn, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida State, and Ole Miss. And of course, Darrell, he will take official visits to all 5 of those schools, or at least that's the plan.
Yeah, kid from Jackson, Alabama, very good measurables, almost a 5-star, very close, knocking on the door, high 4-star.
Yeah.
Read his scouting report and said, he's a prototypical dual threat guy. Interesting, some of the people that are his recruiting coordinators or contacts. Mike Shula at South Carolina, good old Gus Malzahn at Florida State is his lead recruiter. There's a different take on this, a different angle for our little Friday afternoon club show today that just kind of emerged in the last 3 hours. And that is some of the controversy and turmoil that's swirling around your ex-boy at North Carolina. And
Bill Belichick.
Yes, and the fiance not being allowed to
girlfriend.
Even step
Girlfriend.
Sorry,
all of this just for a girlfriend.
And I just we're not doing entertainment tonight, and I know this isn't TMZ, but it matters because there's some people coming out in the know in the industry saying this is going to hurt North Carolina and their recruiting, and how can he weather this? So if there is any uncertainty at all, I know he's a legend. But if there's any uncertainty at all about him being there or the climate or all that, it can only help the other 4 schools involved. And, I like this kid a lot. A lot of people do. And I guess we're kind of in this day and age now, Zach, where it used to be before the portal, you try to take 2 quarterbacks every cycle. You don't have to now. You get one really good one, high school quarterback, maybe get another one in the portal for depth. And this is a guy that Auburn would really benefit from.
Yeah, and obviously the North Carolina tie is interesting. One, just because of the nature of Bill Belichick and all of that, and there's conflicting reports on all of it. It still looks terrible, though, right? We talk about it with recruiting. Perception is everything, and it doesn't look like things are going well at North Carolina, despite it probably not actually being that large of an issue. But we've talked about this through the lens of Travis Burgess's recruitment, the Grayson quarterback, who I'm a huge fan of as well. It seems like it's 50-50 for him, which is what he's said to reporters in the past, between Auburn and North Carolina. It seemed like North Carolina was trending. So we'll see. And then in response to all that, just we're assuming, connecting the dots, the timing of it, once North Carolina started to seemingly get momentum for Travis Burgess, you saw Auburn almost pivot back to Landon Duckworth, him saying, hey, he's going to take an official visit. Then he makes... Auburn appears on his Final 5 graphic that Hayes Fawcett with On3 put out earlier this week. And so if we're to believe that North Carolina is in the lead for Travis Burgess, surely Landon Duckworth wouldn't go to North Carolina either. So to me, is this truly a Final 5? I think that's a question worth asking.
It's interesting because I don't feel like North Carolina is leading for Burgess. And so
I hope you're right.
A couple of publications have already crystal balled him 100% to Auburn and haven't come off that in the last 2 weeks, haven't changed that. It's a domino effect, I think. I think if whoever, it's an arms race. Like, who wants to commit to Auburn first? Let's say Burgess says, I'm committing to Auburn. I'm shutting down my recruitment. Does Auburn back off Duckworth at that point? If Burgess commits to North Carolina, does Duckworth say, well, I ain't going there if Burgess is there? It's really a weird dynamic to have.
I can't
Auburn
imagine
involved.
they would both go to the same place, Darrell.
They're not. They're not.
Right.
Yeah, they're not. So that's why I'm saying it's just this weird waiting game.
Sure.
You know, the Burgess thing is interesting because he's with all the things that I've seen as far as bios and that they feel like he's really ascending. That by the time we're having this conversation next year, he could be in the same realm or stratosphere as Duckworth. We'll see, but that's the kind of words that are used to describe him. Right now, you take the higher rated guy, I think, if you have an opportunity in a kid that's in the state of Alabama. So,
yeah. And there's so many aspects to this that we're just not going to know some of the variables tied to it. Like if the NIL commitment is the same, it's Landon Duckworth. But the whole argument for Travis Burgess and why, I mean, pretty much everybody who's come on this show has been high on Auburn pursuing Travis Burgess as their quarterback prospect in 2026 has been, this seems like an incredible value because he's extremely underrated and underranked, which you got to think there's some correlation to what that NIL compensation might look like. It might be like, you know, a value pick, or, you know, you get a guy in the 6th round, you don't have to pay him as much as, you know, your 2nd or 3rd round picks. With North Carolina being involved in this recruitment and they're reportedly throwing money around, I don't know if he's going to be as cheap or inexpensive as his coaching staff might have originally thought when they were pursuing Travis Burgess. We're kind of the first, you know, SEC team, a P4 team to really kind of hone in on him. And so part of me wonders if that's also why it's like, well, if we're going to spend this much money, like, let's go with the in-state guy who is ranked higher and who probably is a little bit better.
I just don't think that the NIL value that's being projected right now is even relevant in any sense because it's not going to be what it is when he signs. So, I mean, if Auburn gave him NIL,
you've got to guess though. You can like what you know it's going to go up. You got to guess how much it's going to go up though.
You guess and you project and you forecast. You're exactly right. So, unless he signed right now, I mean, committed right now and said, "This is what I'll commit. This is what I want." On signing day, it doesn't matter because so much can change in the next year and a half that, you know, number one, like I mentioned, he may become a higher ranked player. And then the value might be a lot more high just because of all the other schools involved. So what Auburn's projecting, what they think they can get him for right now, they're going to have to project what it's really going to take, you know, in a year and a half.
And I just wonder if it's going to be that much different than what you would have to, whoever gets Landon Duckworth. And so if you want to get an elite quarterback in the 2026 class, which should be your goal no matter what. I know Auburn's like the only fan base that I've seen like, well, we've got a young quarterback. We don't need one. We're the only fan base that does that. It's the strangest thing. Especially with the conversations, and Brian, I think, has done a great job of this. Brian Smith, who comes on once a week or more with the portal, just kind of following the national trends of these 5-star quarterbacks. They just don't stay at schools. And like, hopefully Deuce does not become part of that statistic. We all want Deuce Knight to be the future of Auburn. And I think it stacks up where he will be. If I had to guess, I think he will be, but you have to take into consideration that he may not be. Like, he may be part of this national trend where these 5 stars commit to a school and then they hop, you know, as soon as they can. Hope that's not the case. But what if it is? And then you've got to prepare for the guy after him and go to the portal again. So it's not an easy way to navigate. But I think Auburn being in the Final Four for Landon Duckworth and also being in a prime spot for Travis Burgess, I think you got to get one of these two guys, Darrell.
Even if Deuce Knight doesn't jump, and I don't think he will, and let's say he starts at Auburn in 2026 and plays 2 years. Yeah. Well, you got to have your quarterback for 2027, 2028. And that's, you got to just keep stacking. Now, yeah, you can go in the portal, but I think you'd much rather get a guy that's a 5-star that you could develop a couple years and sit behind somebody and learns the system. And that's why you always need to get a quarterback every class. Don't worry about how many you have on the roster, how young they are.
Yeah. So how do we feel about the 2026 quarterback recruitment, as well as specifically Landon Duckworth, Auburn in his top 5? All that's coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Darrell, we all have checked our account and we're like, wow, we're spending way too much money on certain things, whether it's going out to eat, whether it's just going and shopping, whether it's, you know, for all the Mother's Day gifts that folks are buying. It adds up. It adds up, Darrell. But that's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. We've talked about this before, Darrell, with budgeting when it comes to the reoccurring payments or making sure you know where all of your investments are. Monarch Money, it brings it all in one.
What if you have
one app?
What if you have to unexpectedly pay for a wedding? Right? Down the road. You got to budget.
It's not that unexpected. It's not that unexpected.
Yeah, but when it finally happens and you got to drop the dime on it, then that becomes, if it gets real, then you got to start doing what? Budgeting. I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, and in there you can set saving goals for certain projects and all that, all within Monarch Money. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege, half off your first year. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. There's absolute chaos happening behind me. So sorry if that is being picked up through the microphone. So Landon Duckworth announces his top 5. And of course, it's the 5 places he's taking an official visit to. We talked about this, I think it was 2 weeks ago when he announced that he was taking an official visit to Auburn, which will be May 16th, which is not long from now. But it's the first of the 5, which I think is a disadvantage. I think in the modern day, in recruiting, you want to be last. In the transfer portal, you want to be first. So May 16th to Auburn, 2 weeks later, May 30th to Georgia, the following week to South Carolina, the following week to FSU, the following week to Ole Miss. What are your thoughts on how the visits are stacked and what it means for the Tigers for Landon Duckworth?
He's not going to North Carolina?
I'm just looking at his 247 page.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting because
I don't know. I'm just it does not say that on the 247 page, which doesn't make sense.
So, and I'm not doubting. I'm just saying. I mean, Georgia isn't even in his top. Yeah, they are. Okay, so Florida State, Ole Miss, Auburn, North Carolina. I was trying to remember who the top.
Yeah, I think I read off the wrong group of teams at the top there, but those are his visits that he's taking according to 247.
Okay, good. So. Man, the point about first visits does concern me too. And I don't want to be a doom and gloomer. I really love the last impression. Unless you absolutely get blown away from that first visit and then you're trying to compare all the other schools to that first initial impression, which happens.
No, you're right. You're
sometimes.
right. Georgia's not in his top 5, but they still have him taking an OV. So I don't know what's up with that.
So, yeah, we want to be informative. Make sure people know that's interesting. That's a, I don't know. That's a factor.
Maybe they just haven't updated that yet.
Could be
his 247 page.
But yeah, unless you get absolutely blown away from that first visit, and then these other schools, you're like, gosh, that's not the same. And it becomes the comparison game.
Can you hear this chaos happening? Is my mind picking it up? Okay,
it's not. I mean, you're talking about
crazy.
You're talking about a guy that was doing a show with you multiple times and thought a UFO was landing in his yard, or the police were coming to get me, or a murderer with a mining helmet was coming. So I mean, I'm cool.
Understood.
I'm good. Yeah. But man, I would love that last visit. You're right. I mean, I hate to read too much into it. I really do.
And I think that's almost symbolic of it feels like to me we're a little too late.
Yeah, because we put all the eggs in the Burgess basket.
I mean, in real time, it felt that way. And then it felt a strong pivot a few weeks ago. I don't know what to make of that because I do think it's close. If it's solely NIL, I think we got a shot.
Are you happy with either? If I was to ask you right now, spontaneously, Zach, how do you feel on the happy meter, the happy odometer with either one? Are you comfortable?
If you tell me you either get Landon Duckworth or Travis Burgess, are you good with that? I'm 100% great.
And I think Burgess is playing, and I know Burgess is playing against better competition. He just is.
Yeah. That's a great
nothing against Kyle's neck of the woods down there. But I think that so a 3-star playing against that competition, I mean, it's all relative. I think I'm comfortable with either, especially, the measurables on both. It does look better, and it gives your class a higher ranking. I get it. When you get the kid that's got almost a 98 ranking as opposed to an 88 ranking.
But I think Burgess is going to shoot up.
He's going to shoot up big time. when halfway through the season next year, my prediction is at the end of October, if they're reclassifying these kids, there's no doubt he'll be a 4-star.
Well,
Where he'll be,
you're seeing rivals do re-rankings now, like every month, because it's what generates traction, and I'm all for it.
But I'm not all for that when you do that when they're not playing football games. That just that drives me crazy. I don't know what
they're doing camps and stuff.
Yeah, but are you really able to move? I guess if you show extreme, I will say this, in a camp scenario, if you show like considerable arm strength from one year to the other with the growth process, I can see it. But to me, the truest measurable is once you start playing games as far as re-ranking and shooting up.
A lot of these guys are playing spring games right now, so you get a little bit more tape, get a little bit more, publicity.
Yeah,
easy for you to say. And then you get camps and all that over the summer. So it's not like there's nothing going on. But you're right. I mean, how much are you really truly getting better? Or you get another month to watch all these guys, and maybe your information's better.
You know what the comparison to me feels like? The comp is like a kid. All these lists comes where they rank quarterbacks in the SEC, and going into the spring, a kid's 10th, and then they come out of spring and they hear all these great things about him, and then the new list comes out and they're 4th. Based upon what they did in the spring, or I mean, an A-Day game would have been a lot better, but just the way, the noise is the point you made, and I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and sometimes noise is real, and sometimes it's not, and it's kind of up to everybody to read into if they want to buy it or not. So
yeah,
if you had to guess right now, which quarterback, Landon Duckworth or Travis Burgess or the field, someone else, is the quarterback of the 2026 class, or does Auburn not get a quarterback in the 2026 class?
I think Burgess.
I agree. I think Burgess is the most. If the 4 options are Duckworth, Burgess, someone else, or no quarterback, I think Burgess is the most likely option still.
I think Auburn was on him the earliest. I think it's the most buzz. I think some of the crystal balls. We'll see, but I think that's my gut feeling tells me it'll be Burgess that enters the class.
Yeah, and I know
thankfully at a higher ranking too.
Yeah. I can't imagine Duckworth being stoked to play at FSU.
Why would he go to Georgia? And in the visit to Georgia, didn't Curtis just commit to Georgia?
Well, I'm not buying that the visit to Georgia is accurate now, because that doesn't make any sense. Like, why wouldn't they be in his top 5? So I just don't think 247's updated his visit stuff. Ole Miss, I think, makes sense, I guess. South Carolina makes sense, I guess.
Ole Miss just got a quarterback to commit, did they not? Or was it a
portal guy?
Maybe it was a portal guy, yeah.
But I just feel like Lane Kiffin just has a way of like, we have 7 quarterbacks ahead of you.
Come be number 8.
But like they do it, so you can't count them out,
Yeah.
So I'm not counting. Ole Miss out of a quarterback recruitment.
I'm glad they're doing that though, because I just feel like there's only so much NIL money to go around, and that means another position of need is going to go unattended to. Has to.
Maybe. I'd love to play Ole Miss. I think that's a fun rivalry / series, but that's okay. Yeah, so I mean, as far as threat level goes, like I would think Ole Miss is probably threat number 1, then South Carolina threat number 2, FSU threat number 3, North Carolina threat number 4 of his top 5. That's how I would rank it.
Yeah, I would too.
Okay.
I think that's kind of where I had it too. And again, going back to these lead recruiters, that kind of thing, who is having the opportunity to, I know that Auburn's is Ken Austin. I like, that, so that's the guy that's in on him, but
I like that. Yeah,
I do too.
I think Hugh Freeze will be involved too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
All right, Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, Wednesdays and Fridays with you, my guy right here on Locked On Auburn. And then Sunday nights, the Barn / Top Button podcast, you and Kyle. We do a nice little one at 8. We go live, live deal. Yeah,
we do. Absolutely. Come hang out with us for sure. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.